Good evening and welcome to NoorNews. Tonight, we track the escalating crisis in Kyiv following deadly strikes, and examine the growing diplomatic fallout after Australia condemns the handling of an aid worker's death in Gaza. We begin our coverage now with the urgent developments unfolding in Ukraine. At least 15 people have been killed in a massive aerial assault on Kyiv, as Ukrainian officials warn that critical shortages in air defense systems are leaving the capital increasingly vulnerable. The strikes, which occurred on Thursday, targeted a series of residential apartment blocks and industrial warehouses, causing widespread destruction across several districts. Emergency services are currently working through the rubble of the damaged buildings, and authorities expect the casualty count to rise as search and rescue operations continue throughout the day. According to reports from the BBC and Al Jazeera, this latest wave of attacks highlights the intensifying pressure on Ukraine's military infrastructure. Officials in Kyiv have repeatedly stated that their current air defense capabilities are being stretched to the limit, struggling to intercept the high volume of incoming projectiles. The targeted warehouses, which were reportedly being used for civilian logistics, have been left in ruins, further complicating the humanitarian situation in the city. International observers note that these strikes represent a significant escalation in the ongoing conflict, as the lack of sufficient interceptors leaves major population centers exposed to sustained bombardment. The government has renewed its urgent appeals to international partners for additional military aid to bolster its defensive perimeter against future strikes. Kuwaiti Minister of Finance Dr. Yaqub al-Rifai held high-level talks today with his Sudanese counterpart, Dr. Jibril Mohammed, to address a range of financial and economic matters of mutual interest. According to CUNA, the meeting focused on exploring prospects for future cooperation across several priority sectors, aiming to bolster the economic partnership between the two nations. The discussions also served as a platform to reinforce the historic fraternal ties shared by Kuwait and Sudan, with both ministers outlining strategic plans to further develop these relations in the coming period. This engagement is part of an official visit by Dr. Mohammed, who is currently leading a government delegation from the Republic of Sudan to Kuwait. The session was attended by senior officials from the Kuwaiti Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, alongside representatives from the Sudanese embassy. Both sides emphasized the importance of continued dialogue to ensure the success of these collaborative efforts. As the visit progresses, officials are expected to finalize frameworks that will facilitate deeper economic integration and support ongoing development initiatives. The meeting underscores a commitment to maintaining strong diplomatic and fiscal channels between the two countries as they navigate current regional economic challenges. A royal order has been issued to transform the National Platform for Charitable Work, known as Ehsan, into an independent, non-profit organization to be officially titled the Ehsan Foundation for Charitable Work. According to the Saudi Gazette, this structural shift is designed to further strengthen the kingdom's charitable sector by streamlining the connection between donors and beneficiaries through a broader range of donation opportunities. The foundation will focus on enabling both individuals and private sector entities to contribute more effectively, while coordinating with government agencies to enhance the overall efficiency and impact of nonprofit initiatives. This transformation builds upon the platform's performance since its inception in 2021, when it was established under a royal directive and managed by the Saudi Data and Artificial Intelligence Authority, or SDAAA. Operating under a robust governance framework, the platform was originally tasked with ensuring that contributions reached eligible recipients across critical sectors, including healthcare, housing, food security, education, and social support. By transitioning into an independent foundation, the organization aims to solidify the digital empowerment of the charitable sector, ensuring that the kingdom's philanthropic efforts remain transparent, sustainable, and aligned with national development goals for the benefit of all eligible beneficiaries across the country. The Australian government has expressed formal outrage following Israel's decision not to launch a criminal investigation into the killing of Zomi Frank-Com, an Australian aid worker killed in Gaza. According to the BBC, Foreign Minister Penny Wong summoned the Israeli ambassador to Canberra to convey the government's deep dissatisfaction with the outcome. Frank-Com, who was working for the World Central Kitchen, was killed alongside 6 colleagues in April when their convoy was struck by Israeli drone fire. While the Israeli military previously admitted the incident was a grave mistake resulting from misidentification, the decision to forego a criminal probe has been described by Australian officials as both insulting and inadequate. Canberra is now demanding full accountability, arguing that the internal military review process fails to meet the standards of transparency required for such a significant loss of life. The Australian government has indicated it will continue to press for a thorough and independent inquiry, maintaining that the current response does not provide the justice sought by the victim's family or the international community. The diplomatic friction highlights ongoing tensions regarding the conduct of military operations in Gaza and the protection of humanitarian personnel operating within the conflict zone. Tensions between Washington and Tehran have escalated following new threats from Donald Trump regarding a potential economic crackdown on Iran. According to BBC reporting, the former president has signaled a return to a policy of maximum pressure, suggesting that further sanctions could be imminent should diplomatic efforts remain stalled. The rhetoric marks a significant hardening of the U.S. stance, aimed at curbing Iran's regional influence and nuclear development programs. In response, Iranian officials have dismissed the threats, warning that any attempt to further isolate the country will only lead to what they describe as a further defeat for American foreign policy objectives. Tehran maintains that its strategic posture is defensive and that previous rounds of economic pressure have failed to achieve their intended political outcomes. Analysts suggest that this exchange reflects a deepening cycle of mistrust, with both sides signaling a reluctance to engage in direct negotiations. As the international community monitors the situation, the potential for renewed economic volatility remains high. The BBC notes that while both nations have avoided direct military confrontation, the diplomatic impasse continues to complicate regional stability, leaving little room for de-escalation in the immediate future. U.S. President Donald Trump has announced what he describes as the most crushing economic operation against Iran to date. According to the BBC, the president characterized the new measures as a form of economic warfare, aimed at achieving the total isolation of the Iranian state on an unprecedented scale. The administration indicated that these sanctions are designed to exert maximum pressure on Tehran's financial infrastructure, targeting key sectors of the economy to restrict the government's access to international markets. This development marks a significant escalation in the ongoing diplomatic and economic tensions between Washington and Tehran. Analysts suggest that the scope of this operation is intended to force a shift in Iranian policy by severely limiting the country's fiscal capabilities. While the White House has framed the move as a necessary step to curb regional influence, international observers are monitoring the situation closely to assess the potential impact on global energy markets and the stability of the broader Middle East. The administration has not yet provided a comprehensive timeline for the full implementation of these measures, but officials have stated that the operation will be sustained until specific strategic objectives are met. The international community remains divided on the long-term efficacy of such extensive economic isolation strategies. The founder of the collapsed Chinese property giant Evergrande, Hui Ka-yen, has been sentenced to life in prison. According to the BBC, this judicial decision marks a significant turning point in the aftermath of the company's historic collapse, which sent shockwaves through China's massive property sector and triggered a broader economic crisis. Evergrande, once the nation's top developer, defaulted on its debts in 2021, leaving thousands of homebuyers without properties and sparking widespread financial instability. The sentencing follows a lengthy investigation into the firm's business practices and its accumulation of massive liabilities. Analysts suggest that this move by the authorities is intended to signal a firm stance on corporate accountability as Beijing attempts to stabilize the real estate market and restore investor confidence. While the collapse of Evergrande remains a complex issue involving international creditors and domestic policy shifts, the sentencing of its founder represents the most high-profile legal consequence to date. The fallout from the company's insolvency continues to influence China's economic policy, as regulators work to manage the lingering risks posed by the property industry's debt-laden business models. Further details regarding the specific charges and the legal proceedings are expected to be released by official channels in the coming days. Thank you for joining us for this verified report on today's global headlines. We remain committed to bringing you the facts as they happen. NoorNews, verified before published.